story, in Jesus' little parable, this woman who lost a coin. She lights a lamp and searches. How much did it cost her to find that coin? Do you know how much it costs you to turn a light on for an hour? Do you know how many hours you have to work to turn that light on, to be able to pay for that bulb? Terry might. Terry's our best chance of knowing as the treasurer. She at least knows how many lights we leave on in this building, I'm sure. But we don't think about that, right? I mean, we have an electric bill, we pay the electric bill. But how many hours of work do you have to have under your belt before you can flip that switch? So in modern day technology, it's something like 1 second worth of work to be able to pay for 1 hour of light. I don't know what the figures are that go into that, what wage are we talking about, what type of light bulb, but generally speaking, you have to work for a second to have your light on for an hour. Does that seem fair? Reasonable? Light's pretty cheap, right? It doesn't take a lot to turn on a light in your house. But how many hours did she have to work to light that lamp? So I couldn't find a figure for the specific time period of Jesus. But in ancient Babylon, 1 hour of light, so this is like about 1,000 years before the story, if not a little bit more than that. 1 hour of light, 400 hours of work. For 1 hour of light, 400 hours of work to be able to afford the oil, the wick, the lamp, everything that goes into it. 400 hours of work burned up in an hour. Literally, you're setting your wealth on fire. In 1800, so a little more relatable to us, right? 1800 is a time we can conceive of people having lived, right? And doesn't seem that far away from us in terms of affordability of things. In 1800, an hour of light, 50 hours of work. So even in 1800, the story sounded different, right? So it says, she lights a lamp and first sweeps the house before she even starts looking. So she's lit this lamp long enough to sweep her house, which probably isn't as big as our houses, but still, she's sweeping and then searching carefully. How long did this take her? How much did this cost her? The coin that she's looking for was probably about a day's wages. So what, on the longest day of the year, 12 hours of work, From sun up to sundown, because obviously you're not working when it's dark because you can't afford to pay for the light. So, and her range is somewhere on the 400 hours side of the spectrum of how much that light costs her. So even if she was looking for half an hour for a coin that's worth 1 day's work, she has spent several days' worth of money to find it. This is one of the most ridiculous things I can think of doing. The sun will come up in the morning and it will glint against that little coin and you will see it, it's right there. But no, Apple, you're right. Because God isn't going to wait for us till morning. And God isn't going to care at all how much God spends to find us. And God isn't even going to look up the historical economic data and give a rat's patootie about how much does he have to pay for that light to find that coin? Because God says that coin is not worth a day's labor. God said, that is my coin, and I love it, and I want it back. The world tells us, our human-made economic system tells us, that lady was an idiot, right? She spent way too much money looking for this coin. She lost in the end, like several hundred hours worth of wealth, looking for one day's worth of wealth. We read this and it sounds nice, and we like it. It feels good, but Jesus is saying something to us that should stop us in our tracks and make us realize what a foolish God we follow in the eyes of the world. And how foolish we seem when we follow this God in this world. God just doesn't care what value the world puts on us. God made us. God called us good. And God said, I am not going to wait until morning to look for you. God said, I am going to come down there, be incarnate, born of the Virgin Mary, wander around, get up on that cross, and pay a price that is completely ridiculous for you. This 5 little lines in the Bible. We can read through them so easily. And we can move on with our day so easily. We can turn the light on and off and on and off and on. Is that just in my house? And off and on. And not think about it. But Jesus is talking to people who, when they hear this story, they're like, that's ridiculous. Why would she light a lamp? Why would she spend all that time? Why would she spend all that money? And when she goes to her neighbors and she says, guess what? I lit my lamp and I searched for, even if it was 5 minutes, and I found this coin. They're going to be like, that was not a great plan. Because the sun's coming up. In 8 hours? You could have found it then. God loves us and calls us to love others in a way that makes absolutely no sense to the world. God calls us to look at people and see in them God, not some sort of monetary or social value, but a child of God. Claimed, created, and loved by God. And God calls us to see that when we look in the mirror, too. There is no value that the world can put on you, anybody else, us as a congregation, or any piece of God's creation. There is no monetary or social capital or whatever kind of value the world wants to give us that matters at all. Because God will spend more than we could even imagine as soon as godly possible to find us, seek us out, pick us up from wherever we might be at the moment and say, I found you. Look, I have found you. how much it cost. I have found you, and that is what is important. You have value beyond measure. You are not just a day's wages. You are not just a good connection. You are a child of God. And there is nothing God won't do for you.